All right, I'm going to turn the mic over to Adam White. He's going to tell us what the heck is a code plug. All right, Adam, take it away. Thank you so much.
Hey, everybody. So you've probably heard the DMR repeaters on the air. Who has used it? So awesome. Who has a DMR radio but hasn't used the new repeater yet? Well, hopefully this helps. And then who wants a DMR radio but doesn't have one yet? Yeah. So maybe at Free Fest you'll get lucky this time. Quality radios, you'll be able to get everything up. So what the heck is a code plug? A little hard to see. A code plug is the term for the code that you plug into the radio. So, use that to download, well not download, but run software on DOS to program old Motorola's like HT1000s. And around the 2000s, Motorola started the professional radio series. That was the first programming software to have a GUI. So the file extension was .cpg, and that's the earliest use of the term that I can find. Those radios used analog trunking, so that they had a lot of complex settings. So what you did was you created a personality, and then that created your channel. You put your channel in your zone, and then you created your scan list. Then you had to go back to your personality. So there's a lot of information that had to be programmed into the radio, and it's somewhat streamlined now, but you still put in the same amount of information. In amateur radio, code plug almost always refers to DMR. Consists of a digital contact list, talk groups, and then channel zones, scan list, roaming list if you have roaming in your area, and then you program with a vendor-specific CPS. Your CPS is your customer programming software. So this is Motorola's. Motorola's on the left. This is the old version. This is the one you want to get a radio like this. Moto Turbo 2.0. It's a little bit buggier. They improved like two things, and it made it run slower and crash all the time. So. And then this is Anytone. This might look familiar to some of you. It's Anytone's more tailored to the commercial market. If you have a amateur radio DMR, your vendor is going to be the best place to get your CPS if you don't already have it. PowerWorks and Bridgecom both keep pretty up to date. And I only have one Anytone radio, but it looks like you've got to have a different program for each model. So if you had an 878 and an 878-2, you'd have to download the software 2 different times. The good thing about amateur-specific DMR radios is you can also go to these web pages and download all of your contacts, sometimes all of your talk groups, and then you don't have to enter those manually. If you get a Motorola, come see me, and I'll give you a code plug, and you can copy and paste all the contacts and the talk groups. Okay. Moto Turbo is just Motorola's word for DMR. I actually thought they invented DMR, but that was way off. But they did kind of perfect it, really make it just too easy to use for the end user. And then the CPS, every other CPS has kind of been copied except that. So the principles are the same, whether you're programming Moto Turbo or an Anytone or something like that. So to get Moto Turbo CPS, go to Motorola Solutions, request an account, pretend you have a business, and then they'll 2 to 3 months later they'll activate your account, and then in about 2 years they'll migrate their system, and then you got to manually request that they migrate your account, and then it'll take another 2 to 3 months, and or go to my Cure Event page, and I've got a link to Mega that needs to be at the bottom. Because they give you the software for free, but you're not allowed to give it out. So the software is free. You're not stealing anything. They just prefer that you don't go that route. So hopefully make that a little bit easier. If you're doing DMR, you need a radio. You need a DMR ID. You go to radioid.net for that. The biggest barrier to entry here is having a PDF copy of your license. So you got to go to the FCC ULS website. Locally, you should already have a copy in your station, but most people don't. So you got to take care of that. And then you got to know your talk groups. There's dozens of talk groups. We're going to program 3 tonight. 3147 is Tennessee. 31447. Is that right, Dan? Yeah. So that's our local repeater. And then 314431, John. That's what we're using for Aries and Skywarn. That stuff. So that's everything. So here's the Anytone programming software. I hate this software. If you fill this list and then you try to scroll, it moves the selection one line at a time. It doesn't move the whole window. Copy and pasting almost doesn't work. The one good thing is the tools for import and export. You can import all and export almost anything. That's why you can go to PowerWorks or Bridgecom or Radio ID and import all your contacts. These radios also hold millions of contacts. So you could have the DMR ID for every ham in the world. Whereas this thing, it tops out at 16 million. So you can't put any additional letters after your DMR, your personal DMR ID, but it'll only hold, I think, 20,000. So you only want to put in your friends and talk groups. Talk groups and private calls, also known as contacts under other software, go in the same place. But so I got this radio on eBay. So we're going to program it for the first time. We're going to not again.
It was out of the believing lie.
Here. So this belongs to a taxi company. You're going to see a ton of stuff here. Only thing you need to mess with is you can put anything on the radio name. This is where your DMR ID goes. And it goes in a similar spot on somewhere like general settings like that for Anytone and other brands. We're going to skip all this stuff today. I'm going to delete this. We can't use encryption.
So, Adam, you got questions back?
Yeah, sorry.
Use the same radio I need.
Yeah. Yeah, they only, can't remember if they're still only given two, or they're down to one, but, whatever your radio ID is, kind of, you're forced to use it, same on all of them. So these are some of this radio is analog as well. Quick call, digital emergency, all these systems, ignore all that. Contacts for those other systems, ignore that. This is very private calls to talk to, if I just want to talk to Dan, I would put his DMR ID in here. And then this is also where my talk group's been. We're going to add a group call. I'm going to add a private.
So what's the difference between a group call and a private call?
A group call is a talk group. So a talk group is 3147 is Tennessee. So if you connect to a Brandmeister network and your contact is set up for 3147, then you're going to talk to anybody who's got a hotspot or a repeater that's listening on 3147. Private call is a digital contact directly to one person. So you can use the club's repeater on time slot, correct me if I'm wrong, on time slot 1 with a private DMR ID. You can talk directly to Dan, talk directly to Joe, and nobody else can hear you. I think they'd have to have the same thing set up on their end. I haven't played with that too much. You can also put in, I think, because I actually don't have any individual DMR IDs, just too much effort. But if you put in, it'll show you the DMR ID when they talk. I think if you put it in here, it'll show you the name or whatever you add. Yeah.
Brandmeister knows the last place you keyed up. So if I private call to you, Brandmeister will send that call to the last place you keyed up. If it's on a repeater, people can hear it because they've got promiscuous mode on television, radio. But if we're on hotspot, nobody can hear us. They can't get a separate call. It's not encrypted, but it can route the call.
Dan, if you don't mind, what's your DMR ID?
3147538.
My other DMR ID is 316. It's important to put in a recognizable contact name here because of the way they populate when you're making a channel. Let's see. RX group list is, like Dan said, promiscuous mode. So if you want to listen to one repeater, but you want to hear all the traffic on it, you program every conceivable talk group, all the talk groups in the area. So you get 3147, 1006, 331, all of them. And you would add it to your RX group list. You want to do this before you create a channel. You also want to create a scanned list. You're not going to put any people in it yet, but create a scanned list prior to creating a channel. Create a zone. You're going to delete the original zone. And in this zone, we're going to add a digital channel. This is the best way I've found to do it. So, W4 feedback. Endless. Color code 1. Correct. Who knows the frequency? Besides Dan.
443.7.
That's that. If you were doing a ton of these, and you had almost all AM radios use the same offset, so you could do your offset here, but I like this view better. Like I said, this radio does analog, but you have to have an entitlement for wideband. That's included in that file. It's on my QRZ page. And then, so any analog setting will go here. This is for the RX privilege. So this one, that's again to receive anything coming across the repeater. Contact name. This is why I said it's important to make the name recognizable. On my radio with hundreds of contacts, I got every state, I got all the local ones for everywhere I've lived in the past. I got them sorted by the number, and then I have a little descriptor afterwards. But we'll start with Tennessee on this one.
Times 2.
Oh, for 304,000. Yeah. So, if you don't know, DMR has 2 time slots because it's time division, multiple access. So TDMA, there you go. Time division, multiple access. Technology to divide at 12.5 kilohertz. So the repeater has different talk groups on each time slot. So you got to make sure you have the right one. So we're going to, the frequency is not going to change. We're just going to copy and paste this channel a few times. Now we're going to make W4 VPS. That turns it into simplex mode. So you talk around the repeater, just you transmit on the receive frequency. Good question. And then this button, you would program one of these buttons on the front to turn talk around on or off. So it would normally act as a repeater channel, but if you wanted to talk direct, then you would allow it here. Okay. Got to change these to time slot 1.
What is a color code, Adam?
Color code is like your TCSS. So that's what tells the repeater to listen to you. So there's 15 color codes, and almost everybody uses one. If you had 2 repeaters in the same area on the same frequency, you would have to change it. But since we don't, we don't. And now we just change the contact name. So they'll guy will pick up the Dan.
Slots do.
So is slot 2 dynamic or slot 1?
Slot 1 dynamic.
Okay. So Tennessee 3147, so slot 2.
Tennessee
Okay.
and Delta are static. Slot 2.
I didn't know you had. Okay.
You can stack as many as you can say it.
And then we just go back to our scan list. We add everything to the scan list, except our taxi. Save that. I don't really save it as the serial number, but it's just the demo. And then we write it. Oh, the other thing, the Motorola's don't like USB 3 ports. So if you don't have an older computer, you got to use a little USB.
While there's a lull, is anybody interested in the head speed antenna? Well, I believe it's 160 for 10 meters. We have one for sale. Go, you're interested. I'll talk to you. Okay.
We're close enough to 3rd meter. That's fine. Oh. Yeah, I was hoping this one would hear. Any questions? Yes.
I want to connect to this side. I'm going to stop. Or something. That is not
Slot 1.
Yes, they're on.
Yeah. So slot 1's dynamic. That means you can put in any DMR talk group or Brandmeister talk group, and it'll connect for a short period of time. What is it, 10 minutes? 10?
Yeah, 15 minutes before. If you talk, it stays up.
It goes from $300
Drops after
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Is there any restriction on the number of people that's been trying to drive?
What would you say, Paul? Yeah, the two probably don't take it down too. Yeah.
Well, you would want to set it up so you're not going to talk over people,
Yeah.
because the frequencies could still collide. Even though it's digital, it's recorded, it's only going to
Yeah, just do what it says. That's
Well, like if I,
you know,
think the repeater
I'm pretty sure it's
is
60.
and I'll
It's not.
go,
I know it's
8
8
or 3, some other, that, okay, somebody else.
The dog walk, you can think about his radio.
She said she gave it to his son for the radios to be sold.
I view it as two repeaters.
I don't know.
Repeater 1 and repeater 2.
Get the radio
Slots
to take
1 and slots 2.
down to Florida.
If you're talking on repeater 1, it's like an old repeater. You've got the whole, you're not getting talk at the same time. Like,
We didn't get a chance.
but people on repeater 2 don't know about repeater 1. They can talk all they want over there, and we can talk all they want over there.
We can get it down that probably, pretty easily.
Yeah.
It's just a fold over.
Yeah.
Makes it easier.
Well, on the dynamic time slot, someone could always come behind you and change it to whatever they want. Or if you just off that. Is disconnected?
Yeah, it's 4,000.
Yeah. So you could add a channel to your radio and talk for 4,000. And that would disconnect.
Never was clear on whether or not like I'm walking on the repeater.
Yeah.
You know, I'm talking about 1, I'm connected to something else, 3 isn't now, everybody else to be talking. So me keep probably on the talk group that I got in, that I can't talk to.
Yeah, that's the technical. I'm not the DMR expert. I just run a program. Yeah.
I'll talk to you about it after.
Dan's good. Good guy there. Thanks, everybody.
Question about it.
Yeah.
So a lot of the radios you have zones, you only have so many channels in each zone. Do you have any recommendations for structuring your channels in your zones?
So I'll tell you how I did it in Texas. Texas was cool. We had a bunch of Motorola repeaters throughout the state, and they were connected. So I had them by sort of geographic region, and then that also set up my roaming list as well. So I could drive around and it would connect change. And then I also had a zone for my TGIF, Pi-Star, like my randomized for Pi-Star, and then one for my analog in the city, and one for my analog in the county, and then one for home where it was like my top 5, DMR or analog. So it's whatever you want it to be.
What we do is talk about it. They have motion goals. A couple of bumpers in it, and someone else's plan. In like states, I've got the zones small, so that I'm not spinning through 50, 60 states.
Yeah, like for us, with so you're spare ones in there, they're just open. Like I got spare ones in there too, spare ones aren't, it's like, it's spare to use them, too, like one there in, yes, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll take a quick second and introduce Tyler, our Vice President of Membership. He wants to give us just a quick update on Winter Field Day and how we did as a club within the Winter Field Day. Before he gets started, I do want to give a round of applause and thank you to Adam. A daunting task to do a live demonstration in front of a live audience with live gear. But I also want to compliment the fact that there's a lot of experience out there. Reach out to the club members and pick that experience up and pick their brains. I have to admit, I had to call Adam the other day and go, and what am I doing wrong with this? He said, yep, this is good. Just didn't have enough signal. So reach out to the experience that we've got. It's a great thing about our club. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tyler and talk about Winter Field Day.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Again, Tyler, KQ4QEV, doing a quick wrap up on what we did as a club for Winter Field Day. As some of y'all know and have probably heard on the net, this was kind of the first year and probably a long, long time the club did this. So we went out and did more of the day instead of the winter and field because we were inside where it was warm. So there is that. We went to my father KQ4 OVD, lives on the McNairy County line, went out to his home and utilized some of his equipment because, yet again, we wanted to be warm and figure out how it works and what we were doing so that way we could bring something better back next year. So first and foremost, Winter Field Day is not a competition. It's an exciting annual event for amateur radio enthusiasts. It takes place the last weekend in January. It's an event that aims at participants improving preparedness for disasters and enhancing their operational abilities in adverse conditions. Again, our adverse condition was a set of stairs to go to the basement. Winter Field Day organized by the Winter Field Day Association. So this wasn't an ARRL event / competition. They are really big in making. They're a nonprofit organization that focuses on winter environments. So I will admit I was a little cold because I was in the shed that only had propane heater. This was our 3 stations. We ran as a 3 hotel, meaning we were running 3 stations at one time inside of a home. Different groups can set up. You can be mobile. Anything that has wheels and can move is considered mobile, whether it moves or not. This, if we'd have done just the shed alone, or an emergency operations center, would be considered a class I for improved structure. And then there were people out in the wilderness in the bush in a tent with no heat that are rolling around as a class. I don't even remember what it is, but I felt bad every time I heard about one. Oh, outdoor. So this is me inside the shed. This is Adam. Set up his radio, and we ran an infed halfway off the back porch. And that's Joe down in the basement working one of the other radios. So multipliers that we were able to get were operating for 6 continuous hours. We sent at least one WinLink email, so that got us some extra points. And we operated on at least 6 different bands. This was later at night. Adam's got his computer out and doing the whole WinLink thing. Still, it blows my little brain that we can send email with radio waves, but we're not going to talk about how small my brain is, or else it will just start melting. Now, who did we talk to? We talked to a lot of different places. We did pretty good for just going out there and trying it. So we were able to hit somebody on the very far side of Bristol, so we got within the state of Tennessee. And then we turned a 6-meter beam towards Alabama and Mississippi and picked up a couple close by as well. So it was fun. We heard a gentleman in Japan on 10 meters, but could not break through the pile up to get him. So maybe next year, who knows? But it was fun hearing all of the different areas of America. And for some reason, the people in Minnesota and Idaho, those were the guys that were outdoors. So more power to them. Like, go get them, brothers. Now, this is a breakdown of who all we talked to. That 20 meters was real good to us, especially early on. I just started calling CQ right after it began at 10 a.m. And it took a couple minutes, but then we actually had our own little pile up. And at some point, about noon, a gentleman gets on there and starts to try and call a net, like right as I'm calling CQ, and some other guy goes, "Hey, W4BS is running their CQ here. Get off their frequency." I was like, "Oh, whoa. This was just an open frequency, so this is what we're using." And they were like, "Oh, yeah, we figured this was happening. If anybody checks in, tell them we went over to our other net." I was like, "Okay, cool." So, again, it was fun. I'll just go ahead and go to our last little certificate of participation. 200 logged all together, and next year, the other multipliers are operating away from home. Yes, I was away from my home, but I didn't feel it was right to check that box, so we didn't do that one. Next year, hopefully we can. If we're doing it on solar power or battery power or something else like that, get a multiplier for that. Again, not a competition, but it is cool to rack up a bunch of contacts. So next year we'll be able to hopefully bring it back closer, have a better system going forward where more club members can get involved, or at a minimum to where we can contact y'all to get points off y'all and y'all get points off of us. Yes, and that's really all I got to say about that. So that was just a quick wrap up of what we did a couple.
Thank you much. Steve, got a question?
Just a comment. You would think, wow, I wish I could be an extra like Tyler. And Tyler's a technician. Okay. General, he got his general. So anybody with a license come out with this.
I'll make a quick observation. It was amazing to see the bands open up. I got to experience something that I haven't had as a hand experience before. That was 6 meters. Greg opened us up and had a 6-meter beam. And that was just a whole different experience for me because I'd never had the experience to work operate on 6 meters. And that was just a different opening, just a different band. And it was great to experience that We wouldn't have got to do that if we hadn't had an opportunity to go visit Greg at his QTH to have that opportunity. Now, I will say, 10 meters was wide open during the day, and it was a lot of fun when he was hot too. I would think, again, we've said Greg's name, KQ4 OBD a couple of times. Without him opening up his home to us, we really would not have been able to make that possible. So I want to thank him and, for his generosity of his home and his time. All right. Are there any other questions, announcements from the club members? All right. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Vote with your lead.
So we got a motion made to adjourn. Anyone want to second that one? All right, we got a second there. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Richard made the motion. Bill made the second. Thank you, everyone.